The world order shifts. Venezuela and Taiwan become flashpoints in the US-China rivalry. As the global geopolitical landscape undergoes dramatic realignment, regions once dismissed as peripheral zones are now emerging as central arenas in the contest between major powers. It has become increasingly clear that a single letter, a coastal military drill, or an unexpected visit by a senior official can trigger tremors far beyond their borders. Amid this turbulent backdrop, two seemingly unrelated names, Venezuela in Latin America and Taiwan in the Asia-Pacific, are now becoming opposite strategic poles in the intensifying confrontation between the United States and China. In this context, the birthday letter sent by Chinese President Xi Jinping to Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro carried far more weight than a simple diplomatic gesture. Every word in the letter echoed political intent, stressing that China is not only ready to support Venezuela economically but also willing to help safeguard national sovereignty, security, and stability, issued just as Washington increased its military presence around Caracas. The message was unmistakable. Beijing was delivering a direct warning to the United States. In recent weeks, the U.S. has deployed nearly 12,000 troops and several warships to the Caribbean under the banner of the Southern Spear anti-drug operation. Yet the scale, frequency, and concentration of military assets have led analysts to conclude that this is more than a routine security mission. Instead, it carries a clear deterrent signal aimed at the Maduro government and, more significantly, at China, which has been expanding its influence throughout Latin America. For Beijing, Venezuela is not merely an energy-rich economic partner, it is also a strategic foothold enabling China to project its presence into a region traditionally viewed as Washington's backyard. Thus, the U.S. military buildup near Venezuela is widely seen as a direct challenge to Chinese interests. Unsurprisingly, the Chinese Foreign Ministry quickly condemned the U.S. actions, accusing Washington of threatening peace and blatantly interfering in internal affairs. Russia has also stepped into the arena. President Vladimir Putin called Maduro a dear friend and pledged to deepen strategic cooperation with Caracas. This places Venezuela among the rare hotspots where the US, China, and Russia are simultaneously present, each vying for influence. With all three powers at the table, even small moves could alter the regional balance. What makes this situation more volatile is that Venezuela is far from stable. After years of political and economic crisis, it has suddenly become a key piece in the global struggle for power. For that reason, many experts now describe Venezuela as a geopolitical fracture point, a place where a single spark could trigger a domino effect across the region. Taiwan, Washington's strategic card in Asia. If Venezuela is China's leverage in the Western Hemisphere, Taiwan is America's anchor in East Asia. These two regions are like the opposite ends of a tightly stretched rope. With the US and China each gripping a side, China regards Taiwan as an inseparable part of its territory, while the US sees the island as an essential defensive outpost to counter Beijing's rise. This is why Washington's expanding arms sales, revived military communication channels, and frequent visits by lawmakers and senior officials to Taipei anger Beijing just as deeply as U.S. interference in Venezuela. Venezuela and Taiwan are not isolated stories. They're two fronts of the same global contest for influence between the world's two dominant powers. Rising risk of conflict. Airspaces turn red. Tensions escalated to the point that the U.S. Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, issued an emergency alert warning airlines to avoid Venezuelan airspace. Carriers such as Iberia, LATAM, Avianca, and GOL promptly suspended flights to Caracas, while others like Turkish Airlines canceled routes for several days. Meanwhile, Joint Chiefs of Staff Chairman General Dan Kane traveled to Puerto Rico to oversee U.S. military operations, a high-level visit at a highly sensitive moment. Signaling Washington's growing caution, Colombian President Gustavo Petro called for high-level security dialogue involving the U.S., China, and regional nations, warning that Latin America must not become fuel for a U.S.-China confrontation. Analysts also note that if conflict escalates in Asia, Venezuela, backed by China and Russia, could become a counterbalancing pressure point used by Beijing to force Washington to stretch its military resources. A world in transformation. Clearly, Xi Jinping's birthday letter was more than a polite greeting. It signaled China's push to expand its influence in Latin America while the U.S. reinforces its defensive lines across the Asia-Pacific. Together, these movements form two opposing fronts, with Venezuela and Taiwan at the center. As U.S.-China tensions continue to rise, every change in Caracas or Taipei could become the spark that ignites a regional, or even global, crisis. The world is entering a phase of deep power redistribution, where major powers compete not only economically but also through military presence, influence networks, and alliances. And Venezuela and Taiwan, separated by half the globe, now find themselves at the heart of this shifting world order.